So where is Jesus?
In the center.
In the center of the churches. So in other words, the whole vision opens up during the day of the liturgy with Jesus walking around the churches. He's in the churches on the Lord's day. What is one of the major themes of Revelation? There's two. Marriage and liturgy. What is this opening vision talking more about? Liturgy. So again, these are clues, hints, as to how are we to understand this book. It happened on the Lord's day. Jesus is walking amidst the churches, and he's got a message for them. Right? Because at the end of chapter 1, what does he say? Verse 19, now write what you see, what is, and what is to take place hereafter. Write to whom? Churches. 7 churches. Okay? And that leads us into chapter 2. That's where we ended up last week. Yes?
For some reason I have this blank on verse 18, the keys of death and Hades.
Yes?
I'm not quite sure what the blank was supposed to be there.
Oh, I didn't fill in that blank. Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's see here. Keys of death and Hades. Jesus says, I hold the keys of death and Hades. What are these keys? Well, if you hold the key to death and the underworld, that means you have a lot of power. I'm looking for another word. Authority, right? Because you can determine who goes in and who goes out, right? So there are keys of authority. If you have a key, you can open a door or lock it, right? Where have we heard about keys before? Peter. When our Lord talked to Peter. When he spoke to Peter about you were going to have the keys, what did Peter think? When did he hear about keys? See, the things that Jesus did to his disciples resonated to them because they knew their Old Testament. So there's got to be some sort of Old Testament reference to this. So one of the first things in there is Isaiah 22. So go quickly to Isaiah 22. Did you have a quick question, Mary?
I just remembered one of them. Was it David's prime minister?
Yes, now you got it. Isaiah 22. Aha, there's the 3 tickets right there. Answer. Get used to being in the Old Testament while we're in the book of Revelation, because everything in the book of Revelation is a recap of everything that you know and understand in salvation history. And where is most of it written? The Old Testament. So if we don't understand that, a lot of what's going to be in the book of Revelation is going to be even more mysterious. Here's one of them. I hold the keys to death and hell. Now, as Christians, the first thing we go to is Peter, because that's the first time we ever heard of keys. But when Peter heard Jesus give him the keys to the kingdom, what did Peter think? He didn't have Matthew to read. Right? So what did he think when Jesus did that? The Old Testament. And here's where it is. Isaiah 22. We're going to read at, where am I? Hello, wrong verse. Okay, 22. Let's go to verse 19. Isaiah 22:19. I will thrust you from your office, and you will be cast down from your station. In that day I will call my servant Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, and I will clothe him with your robe, and I will bind your belt on him, and will commit your authority to his hand. Did you hear that? What's happening here is Isaiah is talking about how the king is going away. And in his place, God's raising up this dude, Eliakim. And he's going to have the same authority as the king. I'm going to put my authority with him. Now keep reading. Keep reading. He shall be a father to the inhabitants of Jerusalem and to the house of Judah. Did you hear that? A what?
A father.
A father. You realize how utterly rare this is in the the Old Testament, for someone in authority like this to be called a father? It was rare that God called him that. The other time that I can think of is in 2 Kings, when Elisha called Elijah my father. It's a title, but it's a rare title given in the Old Testament. The other time, if you go further than that, is in the Davidic covenant. God says, I will put my king on the throne, and he will be a father to the nations. You see how closely connected this guy is who's taking over for the king? He's going to do what the king is going to be. He's even given a title like the king. Father. Keep reading. Verse 22. I will place on his shoulder the key, house of David. The key to the house of David. Keep going. He shall open and none shall shut. He shall shut and none shall open. I will fasten him like a peg in a sure place, and he will become a throne of honor to his father's house. And then it goes on. Did you hear that? He will give a key that none can open and none can shut. And how is it related? To the kingdom. This guy is what we would call the prime minister of the realm. He has the same authority as the king. He is given the key to the house of David. And whatever he opens, none can shut. Whatever he shuts, none can open. You got it? It's a key of authority. Now, go to Matthew 16. Go to Matthew 16. This is the scene that everyone first referenced. Matthew 16. Matthew 16:13. Now when Jesus came into the district of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do men say the Son of Man is?" And they said, "Some say John the Baptist. Others say Elijah or Jeremiah or one of the prophets." Jesus said, "That's nice, but who do you say that I am?" You notice that wasn't in your Bible, right? That's Chip's commentary. That's nice, guys. Who do you say that I am? You've heard the talk. Well, who do you say that I am? I'm not interested. The opinions of men mean nothing to Jesus. You notice that? Opinions of men mean nothing. Who do you say that I am? Simon Peter said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus answered him, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven." He did not figure this out through logic and reason. God revealed it to him. Plain and simple. That's the only way we know Jesus. God reveals him to us. Reveals? Wait a minute. Isn't there a whole book about that? Oh! See, only God can reveal it. That's the only way anyone understood who Jesus was. The wise men, the shepherds, Mary and Joseph, Simeon, John the Baptist, Peter. The Spirit revealed Jesus to him. And I'm telling you, that happens today. The only reason why you have any faith at all is because God has revealed Jesus to you by his Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Now, verse 18, I tell you, you are rock, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it. I will give to you the
Keys
of the
kingdom of heaven.
Where Peter heard this, what was he thinking? Isaiah, thank you. Isaiah. When Eliakim was given the keys of the kingdom. What is Jesus doing here? He's saying, I'm the king. You're my prime minister. Who is he prime minister of?
Church.
I didn't say that here. The kingdom of heaven. Where is that manifested? In the church. So the church is the kingdom of heaven here on earth. And who's its current prime minister? Oh, Francis, yes. We still have why do we have a prime minister? Why can't Jesus just rule us directly? Because Jesus said, I'm going away. And I will come back again. And until then, Peter, you're in charge. And you have all of the authority of the king while the king's away. You have the keys of death and hell. You mean the Pope has all that power? Yes. Because he, in his role as prime minister, operates in that manner. For the salvation and the sanctification of God's people. When he acts in his authority for salvation or sanctification, he speaks with infallible authority, as if Jesus himself were speaking. That's the promise. And it goes all the way back to David and his kingdom. So you see the connection between what happened in the Old Testament and what's happening to us right now? Is there a break?
No.
There is a complete connection. What was imperfectly done then is perfectly done in the church now of God. Seth?
Yeah, so is his infallibility, is that just determined based on the church councils and catechism and not through scripture directly?
His ability to teach infallibly is contingent on three elements. One, when he speaks out of his authority, what we call ex cathedra, which is just Latin for out of the chair. When he speaks out of his own authority as head of the church, that's one condition. Two, he addresses all Christians. So it can't be in a small church setting. He can't infallibly speak on matters of the Church of North Hollywood anyway. It's something for the whole Christian body, all Christians. The third, it's got to be on a matter related to our salvation or our sanctification. What does that mean? In other words, faith and morals. The Pope cannot teach infallibly on global warming. It's not in his purview. Has nothing to do with your faith or morals. Right?
Right.
He can't tell you if the Earth is the center of the solar system or not. Why? Does that have anything to do with your faith?
No.
Does that have anything to do with living a moral life?
No.
Then he has no business. He can speak whatever he wants about it, That's nice, but it's not an infallible statement of the church. What if he decides, what if Pope Francis gets on the air and calls the bishops, at a local synod and publicly announces that Mary is the mediatrix of all grace? We have to realize, one, is he speaking out of his authority as the Holy Father of the whole church? Is this a matter of faith and morals? And is it a matter that he's addressing to all Christians? So this would be in not just an open statement, but in an encyclical, for example. If it's in a document like that, then we can be fairly certain that this is coming from the mouth of Jesus to us. That binds the faithful to belief. Binds the faithful to belief. That's the opening and the closing. Okay? Does he need a church council for this? No. It's a unique authority granted to the Holy Father.
Could you give a quick example of that first criteria?
Out of the chair?
Yeah.
He usually popes will begin by, we solemnly proclaim, announce, and define, something to that effect. That would indicate that I'm speaking out of authority. All the agreed upon infallible statements of the church made by popes have that kind of formula to them. We solemnly proclaim, announce, and define, or affirm and define that it is a matter for all, a matter of salvation that, something to that effect. And it's in an encyclical, and it's in that kind of context of announcing something to the whole Christian body. Okay? He can't do that on a private matter. Okay? Yes.
So two things. So it doesn't matter whether or not the other Christians believe what he's saying. It's just if he addresses
Correct.
them, that
Correct.
doesn't matter. And then
Correct.
the second thing would be
If we don't, with the Christian body doesn't have to vote on whether we approve of it or not. This is not the United States Congress
right,
or
but
Parliament. It's just not.
and then the second thing is if he's, let's say he did come to St. Charles, for example,